Hey guys, thanks for coming into my channel and tuning in. My name is Alice Jenkins, aka Al Boogie. I'm so happy and very excited to announce to you my business corner called Spotlight on Success. This is the first episode in which I got to interview Dannie at Hidden Bliss Studio here in Coldwater, Michigan. I am delighted to have you guys get a look on the inside of the conversation we had and just kind of get to know her and her business all around. I know that this is a very long and anticipated video. I've been kind of sitting on it for a little bit because I'm working in this new process and starting this new project. So I'm trying to get the ball rolling and make everybody happy and put us all in a good spot. So I'm not running back and forth constantly and I have you guys waiting forever for the next episode. So with that being said, I'm gonna let you guys get into the video. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. And I hope to hear from you guys. Leave a comment underneath where you're from, if you've heard of this place before, or maybe even somewhere that I should check out next. Thank you guys for tuning in, and here's the video. I pretty much wanted to start off with, like, who is Dannie?
No.
Who is Dannie? You know, what brought you to, like, be this person that wants to inspire and bring community together?
So what brought it all started it
Yeah.
all. So what started it all was for the yoga side of it. I actually started practicing yoga because I was diagnosed with Lyme disease in 2008. And I went through treatment twice. The second time I went through treatment, I decided to stop after 2 years of being on treatments. So I was up to 39 pills a day and watching my diet of a low carb, no carb diet, and my numbers never changed. I was not getting any better. I would go to work, I would come home from work, and I literally would go to bed. On the weekends, I Netflixed and couched and did not have any ambition or any energy to do anything outside of just survival. The last doctor's appointment that I had, when I found out that my numbers were still the same as they were 2 years prior, I came to my husband and my children and I said, I can't do this no more. It's either I'm going to die trying to go back into a dormancy, which is what it's called in Lyme disease, or not be treated, find what I can do to make myself feel better and work with the symptoms that I have, and then live life as much as I have of life at that point in time. And I was 36 at that time, 36 years old at that time. 35, 36 years old, and having 2 young boys in high school and in middle school, it's very scary to know whether or not you're going to make it to 40. But my husband understood, and that was when I became thankful for today. It became my quote that I would say a lot because I was here, and I cherish every memory and moment, because a side of Lyme disease is losing your memory and focusing and stuff. So I always tell people to cherish the moments because you don't know how many you have. So I went 2 years of survival mode and trying to find ways to make myself feel better of the symptoms. And I read that yoga is one way of helping with pain. So my Lyme settles in my lungs and in my hips. So walking up and down stairs was very difficult for me. I get winded very easily. Actually, it's funny because when I get winded, I yawn. So people think I'm tired. And I'm like, no, I'm not tired. Trust me, I'm full of energy. It's just that I'm catching up my oxygen levels because I get winded easily. And then, so the other part is the hip pain. So when I started practicing, so then a studio opened up here in town, because every studio that I tried to find for 2 years, they were 9 to 5. They would have classes on lunch breaks, or they would have classes that start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I work a 9 to 5 job. Like, I can't just leave work to do that. And a lunch break practice would be perfect if it was close, but not a half hour away or an hour away.
Yeah.
So it was not feasible. I am not one that can plug in a video of yoga and practice it. Like, I have to have that emotional connection. I actually still this day will not do a video of yoga. I have to have that emotional connection. I will do yoga on my own, just like free falling, like this is what my body says I need to have, and I'll do it. So then when I started practicing yoga, I needed a chair to get up and down off of the floor. I couldn't even do that, and I weighed 256 pounds at the time. And it was hard. My very first yoga class, I was in the back of the room on the right hand side, and I wanted to hide. Like, I went to her first week's openings, 2-week free class that she had, and it was the first week she actually opened up the studio, and I was like, I could do restorative, like it's a gentle flow, it says, and like I could do that. And I so did not know anything about yoga at all. My son's girlfriend at the time got me a yoga mat from Five Below, and I thought it said O or WWWO, not realizing that it was upside down, that it was Om, and I thought it had flowers on it. And I didn't realize that it was a mandala that was on it. Like, that was how literally green I was of not knowing anything about yoga. But yeah, I took the class and I literally cried in my first practice. I laid on the mat for Shavasana, which is where you're just laying at the end of your practice on the ground in a little meditative time. And I cried because my soul knew that I was right where I needed to be. So then I started practicing. I was up to many classes a week that I was doing. I was there 3 to 4 days a week that I would come to the classes, morning classes and afternoon classes. And in September, it was like August, September time, I read that you can lose weight by practicing yoga. So I had been talking to the doctor about how I wanted to lose some weight, that I wanted to see if it helped with my hips. And so the doctor said absolutely, but physically wise, I couldn't. I used to go to the gym all the time, but I could not do the gym thing. And so I'm like, I'm gonna try yoga. So I went to my yoga instructor and I said, can you do me a favor? I gave her my Pio DVDs that I had that I hated. I'm like, can you just tone this down so that way I can do it? Because I can't breathe and I can't get up and down off the floor. I can't do a burpee, like it's just not happening. And so she took me on as a private client 2 days a week. In 6 months I lost 100 pounds. So I went from 256 down to 145. And it happened very quickly. But in that time frame, I just fell farther and farther in love with yoga and the practice of yoga. Because it made my body feel better. The philosophy of yoga is beautiful. Learning about the asanas, which is the movement. Learning about the 8 limbs, which is the 8 limbs of yoga are the philosophies of what yogis live by, is an easy way of putting it. And so to be learning more and more on that, and more about chakras and how the balancing of your body with that, a lot of light bulbs were going off for me. And so then the one night I was leaving the studio and my yoga instructor's like, I think you could become a teacher. And I was like, yeah, no. And she's like, no. She's like, I think that you have it. And I said, yeah, that's not happening. Like, I practice, I don't teach. And she said, well, I just planted the seed. And I'll never forget her saying that, because I thought to myself, great. Yep, that seed has been planted.
You're making me a little teary-eyed, girl.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then I went to 2 different schools to become certified, and it was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. The one I had to write a paper to get accepted into, was getting ready to start it, and the instructor tore her ACL, so she couldn't even teach. So that school stopped for that year. And then the second one was COVID. And so I'm like, maybe it's just not meant to be happening. Because then at that point in time, the studio that I was affiliated with closed down. And that was rough. That was really rough. So then I found Yoga Renew, and that's where I got my 200 hour out of. And I'm working on my 300 hours, so I'll be 500 certified through them. And also Yin certified, and also mindfulness practice meditation certified too. So there's other certifications that I'm doing through them as well. It's a great group of people, great programs. They were a blessing to find during COVID, but when the studio opened or shut down, it was rough for me mentally, because it saved my life. Like, yoga literally saved my life. I had life happen, and I put on the weight back over the last 4 years, and I'm okay with that. I'm actually happier now than I was actually when I weighed 145 pounds emotionally, and I really firmly believe that it happens for a reason. My body hates me. I still have joint pains, and I have health issues wise. I have flare-ups. It's called horexing. That line kicks in the fall and the winter time, really bad, and so I have to be compassionate with myself at those times. But I'm headstrong, and I'm like, I have dreams and ambitions, and like
resilience.
Yes, extremely, and yeah. So I just keep plugging in forward, and I'm thankful for that side of it, of being. The practice has given me mindfulness enough to know, okay, I know my limitations. You know, I know where I have my boundaries, and I know where I need to be at, and I know what's coming. It being that it's been so many years, of course, it comes with time and learning, you know. But then I had a group of people that I practiced with consistently, and they were my yogis and my heart. And when we lost the studio, it hurt. I literally grieving, hurt, pain. And we were practicing outside, and then I was like, okay, I will find us a home before winter. And then I got the opportunity to have, where I work at during the day, they have a full basement downstairs that's not used. So I was literally hidden in their basement. So we got to use that for the winter, and actually for a couple of years I used that place. But I practiced under yoga with Dannie and not under my studio name for a while, because of the fact that I didn't want it as a company. I wanted to just have you come practice with me. I wanted my yogis to just come practice with me. They get the movement. COVID really was bad. We stayed social distance, you know, and did all of the protocol things. But everyone's like, where are you practicing? What are you doing? You know, how are you making it through this? And so I was like, well, we can do it this way. And so then they were like, I want to pay you. And I was like, no, I don't want you to pay me. It's like, I need to do this for my body and for me. Like, you guys are helping me, being held accountable to take care of myself, and encouraging me to stay practicing on the mat and stay teaching, you know, and still being creative in that space. And so they were like, well, we want to give you something. So I said, okay, donations. Like, if you want to donate, then donate. But everything that was donated, I said everything that's donation is going back into building Hidden Bliss Studio, because I promised them that one day we will have a permanent home. A brick and mortar is what I called it. I'm like, we will have a brick and mortar, we will have a permanent home. And I still remember one of the yogis, they're like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, you know. And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted.
Yeah, sometimes you need that little bit of a we'll see.
Yeah,
type to get you, and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to do it.
Yep, and I'll never forget when they all came here. So all of the donations and everything. So before that, so all the donations is what you see here. So my bolsters, my blankets, my blocks, my straps, a lot of the stuff that's here is from donations from yoga with Dannie, because they would throw $3, $5, whatever, just like what they could during that time, and I would save it all up and I would buy what we would need to have for at least 10 people, and it was one of the biggest things of where I wanted it to be known of, this was built by the community. Like, this was built, it's my baby and it's like my brick and mortar, it's my business, but what's inside these walls and in this room that we're sitting in now, this was built by the yogis. Like, this was built by yogis. It was not built by me personally. This is a community that came together, and they, a lot of them don't even, I think, realized it, that what they had into that, and I give such appreciation for that of it. So, but yeah, so then when I had my grand opening, though, the one that was like, we'll see, they're like, you did it, you found it for us. And I said, yeah, and that was very emotional for me, because when the six of us all got back together, it was nice to have us all back together again, and all of us to know, okay, we have a home once again.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, the first time I heard you, like that first day that me and my sister came in to do the bestie yoga, and you told the story, I immediately regret not having my camera out and like hearing the speech you gave us, because like I got chills. That was so motivating. Like, I'm a motivated person to motivate others as well, because of the stuff and the struggles I've been through, and it was people like that inspired me. And like, sometimes it just takes that little flicker of a light to like help people and have them believe in themselves. And in that moment I was like, you know, I want her to be the first person that I have this experience, this interview session with, because she's a lot like how I am when it comes to like being motivated, understanding, like wanting people to like come together. And I was like, this is a place that I feel good, and I feel like other people should know about here. So
that makes my heart just overflow.
I feel amazing that you come or let me come into your space and let me, you know, just hear your story out again, you know, and help you get your story out.
Yeah, and I appreciate you even doing this. I mean, I always had the joke of like, I sort of feel like I cursed myself by being called hidden bliss, because it's like I feel like I'm hidden, you know, like it, like my like this is hidden. So I used to say, I'm going to stand out front and I'm going to be like, Horton Hears a Who, I'm here, because I still felt like I was hidden. Just because it's hard these days. Of the main way that people get their name out there and get recognized is in social media, and that's not something that I've ever been really comfortable of putting myself out there on. Like I stepping out of my box, and I'm definitely trying to step out of my box in a lot of things, but I know that beautiful things will also come when you push your boundaries and you be brave. And be brave. And that's why I started the studio.
Okay. So what kind of people do you hope find Hidden Bliss?
Everybody. Anybody and everybody. Everybody has a desire. Everybody has a dream. Everybody has that inner bliss that they're looking for, that tranquility, that peace, that love, that with themselves, with the world we live in, with who they are. And that's what that's about. That's why it's called Hidden Bliss, is because, and my bliss is different than your bliss, which is different than somebody else's bliss. And that's actually why it's not called Yoga Studio. It's Hidden Bliss Studio. I dropped the yoga out of it particularly because of the fact that I want to offer more than just yoga here. And I do, because of the fact that my Bliss is yoga, my Bliss is Reiki, but Angel's is who dances on Friday nights here. Hers is a dance, you know. Kike's is Zumba and salsa, and, you know, and he is amazing at that. And that's his Bliss. And I have plenty more friends and stuff that have their Bliss that is coming this way too. Like I have someone who's going to be doing Tai Chi here. I've also have somebody else that's interested in coming and doing some self-defense, and like there's other things that are down the pipeline of coming, you know, and that's what I wanted to offer, is where it's like, okay, if it's not this, or if it's something that you want, I will darn do my best to try to make it here for you.
Okay. So in a way, you're like helping people find like what helps them relax or soothe themselves, their little spark that ignites them.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
And build the community, and so that way they all know each other too. That was one of my biggest things that used to, like, I would sit and go, really? Really? You don't know? So let me explain this. So I go to classes, and I've been to multiple studios since COVID. And so I get to know people. I'm a people person. I like to get to know them. And I would always would talk to somebody and be like, oh, well, so-and-so is like into that too. Do you know who that is? And they'd be like, no. I'm like, we've done 2 or 3 classes together, and your guys' mats are right next to each other. And people literally, they come in, they would drop their stuff, they would get their mat, they would do their thing, they would get their stuff, they would leave, they wouldn't even talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's not a community. I get coming to the studio and you're working on yourself and your own ego and you're finding your zen. But when you are on a mat, especially females are very judgmental, and they look at other females and then they criticize themselves. We are our own worst critic. Mm-hmm. And in yoga, you leave the ego at the door. You focus on what's on your mat. Everybody wonders. Everybody's eyes wander. They're like, oh, they can do crow pose better than I can. They can do downward dog better than I can. But if you know that the person 2 mats over, they've been practicing since they were 18 years old and they're 45 years old, and they've been in dance and they have all of the flexibility, of course they're going to be able to do poses that are a lot more advanced than what you can if you haven't been practicing for so long. Mm-hmm. And they may have a tip that can help you who's in there. But if you don't know who that person is, you're not going to be brave to talk to them either. Mm-hmm. But you're going to judge yourself, because I can't hold a crow pose, because I can't do certain poses, you know, a dancer's pose, you know. And so that's one of the other reasons why I want to build community, because I want, when people come in, they're like, I know exactly who that is. So now when I'm on my mat, I'm more comfortable trying new things and not feeling like I'm worried about me looking stupid, worried about me not being able to do it, being in front of people that I don't know, because you are more comfortable.
Yeah.
So
that was one big thing for me, was the atmosphere that you give in here. You're like not super, oh, you have to be this way, you're going to it this way. You're very relaxed about it, and it's more enjoyable. It's more accepting, and it makes me feel like, wow, like I can be here and not worry about being judged.
Absolutely.
So.
And that's the biggest thing, is I wanted to feel like it was no different than you sitting in your living room and trying it in your living room. Mm-hmm. When you walked into here, you're in your second home, and you are in a safe place that you don't have to worry about, almost like cocoonish, because like I shut the curtains and lock the door so you're safe, you know. So when you're in here, you're in your own little cocoon yogi bubble, and being able to take care of your soul and find your space, for sure. So
I really like that, and I like the hidden bliss, and you're in your own little hidden spot. Mm-hmm. It also feels like a sense of privacy. It's not in the middle of town and like people are trying to peek, and like you come here, you kind of know what you're gonna get into. You knowing the people you're around, the community, but it's not so in your face.
No, and that was actually a lot of the reasons too why I wanted to be on this side of town, is because I wanted to one, bring life back to this side. And I mean, this plaza means so much to me. Growing up, I would go to Walmart with my mom, and I know I'm totally aging myself now. So going to Walmart with my mom, and then I would literally walk down and go to it was a CD store or the toy store that was down here, or Fashion Bug, you know, that was here. And I would literally walk all the way down to Farmer Jack, you know, and then come back and meet my mom at Walmart, because by then she was done doing her thing. That was my teenage years, you know, and this place has sat empty for so long. And I mean, it had little pop-up stores here and there, but it was nothing really grew or strived for this plaza. And it's almost like it was forgotten about in a way. And so when I was looking for a space, I've actually looked here a few times to come here, and things just didn't work out. Negotiations never worked out. And then when I stopped teaching for a while, and then I lost my dad, that was when it was like a "are you kidding me" moment, because I was driving through the parking lot to go to Mancino's to get subs for my family, and I saw they had new owners, and I was like, let's just see. So I called and I said, can I come and look at it? And I could hear my dad say, "Be brave," and like literally could hear his voice. And I'm like, I'm not even teaching right now. And I went home and I told my husband, I'm like, we're gonna go look at Willowbrook. He goes, "You're not even teaching." I'm like, I know, I said the same thing. And I was like, but we're just gonna go. I'm like, just entertain me. So we came on a Saturday and we looked at 3 different spots. We looked at this one, and we looked at the one next door, and we looked at one way down on the other side. And this one is the one that just stood out and needed a lot of updating. And this one is the one that I thought that felt more home. And so then I signed the papers and told my family at Thanksgiving that I was opening up my studio in February, and they're like, what? Like, everybody was shocked. But knowing who I am and my personality, it wasn't too shocking either. So
I feel like that's the best way to go about things sometimes. Just drop the bomb.
And just jump.
Because then more people are like, they're excited.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, where did this come from? It's like getting a gift.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I told my family we have 10 days. Like, we have 10 days to do a full remodel of this place. And it was all hands on deck. It was so awesome. My family came together and we painted. So there was water damage that was in here that had to be taken care of too. So we painted, we replaced all of the baseboards, we replaced the flooring. We had to, we did a lot of, we had to fix electrical. Like, there was a lot that we had. I'm like, y'all got 10 days. I'm like, I'm doing a soft opening, 2 weeks free. I was like, come on, we're as of the 12th. I'm like, y'all got 10 days to get this done. And so, but it was worth it. It was so much fun. And now it's like, it's just hard to believe that it's August, you know, and like time is, I was just talking about how I've got things on the calendar through December. And so I'm starting to go into 2025.
Yeah.
And I was like, my 1 year in this building is going to be up before I even know it. Like, how in the heck is that possible that it's going to be a year before I even know? I mean, I was shocked when I celebrated 6 months, and now I'm preparing for 2025 already. So, but yeah, that's one of the fun things, because a lot of the events and things that I do are on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. I have a new class starting in September. It's called Mommy's Time Out. It's a nod to my mom, or Daddy's Break is the two names for the class. It's for kids. So I'm going to be starting to do a kids yoga on Sundays. It's about a half hour-ish of a class, 40 minutes tops, because kids have a very short attention span.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be a lot of fun to bring in the kids, because a lot of people are like, are you going to do kid yoga? And I was like, yes, but let me just get my toes wet here and things settled here. So I enjoy actually doing a kids yoga class outside. It's a lot of fun, and so I'm looking forward to, and in the wintertime there's not really much to do, so I figured on Sundays would be a fun time to have that little break in the weekend and before school starts back up again on Monday for them. So I'm looking forward to that.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I can just imagine a bunch of little kids in here.
Yeah, I'm
trying to do
excited.
yoga.
I'm excited for it. I like the little yogis, and I have a little girl. She loves meditating. They actually practice, have mindfulness yoga stuff that their teachers have done in school.
What's
with
the
her.
like age groups that you're doing?
So I would say, well, it varies on the parent. If the parent feels that they can handle, I would say probably third grade-ish or so, probably around that age, second, third grade. But I have a little one that he's 3 and he 2.5, 3 years old, and he does downward dog, and he actually does a lot of the yoga poses because his mama also.
Yeah, my son kind of does it here and there, but
Yeah. So, but I mean, it just depends on if, and then my thing is bring them and try it and see how I feel. And if they don't like it, then okay. If it's not for them, okay. But at least we tried, you know? I mean, that's the way I feel about it. And they're not going to be on the mat the whole entire time. They're not going to be, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to look like a jungle gym more than it's going to be anything else, you know? And that's okay. And at least they're getting active and they're being mindful of what they're doing and that, and they're getting some movement. And so.
I like that, almost building structure out of the no structure.
Yeah.
Like you have your own kind of set of structure, but you're adding that like fluidity into it with your environment here.
Life happens.
Yeah.
Life happens. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I have my 2 children, well, they're adults now, my 2 adult children, growing up, we had to grow up different. I had to raise them different. My youngest is autistic. He's high functioning autistic, which is Asperger's. And my oldest has learning disabilities and ADHD. So having both of them, me also having dyslexia as well, and I get it, you know, and what looks normal to everybody else or not normal to everybody else is normal to us, you know, and I'm okay with that, you know, and that's where one of the things with a studio is I will flat out tell you my studio is not anything like any other yoga studio, and I am darn proud of that because of it, because of the fact that it is completely, yeah, I've never been to a studio that's anything that's like this place, and it's not just because it's mine and it's not, it's the core of what I'm building here is different. This is, yeah, it's a business, but it's not about the business. It's about the time on the mat. It's about your growth. It's about you making that time for you to grow and find your bliss, and for you to find your space, and no matter how it looks. And that's what I've also instilled in my boys is you have to be happy and do what you love and be thankful for who you are today.
I love how you go about, because you're answering the questions that you're just like kind of going along the list of my questions. I'm like, okay, cool, let's get it. So what kind of effect do you think that the studio would have on people and in the community?
Growth, unity, yeah. So belonging are the words that are all coming to my head on that. In this community, there are, in Branch County, there are multiple yoga studios and people that teach yoga, and where places that you can go to have to practice at. And I think that that's why one of the things that I really want to make sure, like I said, is that people understand that you are welcome here by no matter what your size, no matter what your sexuality is, no matter your age, no matter your health conditions. It is that you are brave enough to walk through these doors. There's a reason why your soul is telling you to walk through these doors, and there you'll know that you found your way home. And so in the community, I just hope that it sees that I'm here to help build that unity, and to help people that depression and anxiety in our area is horrible, and people don't know how to handle it or to work through it or the tools to process it. And so a lot of it, I really hope that they see, okay, this is one avenue that you could take, you know, with that. health-wise. People that have MS, fibromyalgia, myself, Lyme disease, and autoimmune deficiency, ADHD, because you can't focus because you're 500 million places at once. Anything of that nature, it's like, know that, okay, you're welcome here, and we work with what you have, and we will make you stronger, and we will help you to be able to find the ways to cope with those ailments and those distractions as well, because you're not alone. And a lot of people feel like they're alone when they're going through that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard and that hurts.
Yeah, a big part of that community that you're trying to build. Actually, yeah, I think we need. Say your phone.
That was mine.
Okay.
It was dying.
I think that's a big thing that we need in this area is to bring community back. Because I remember a lot when I was younger, like, there's a lot more going on community-wise. There's a lot more welcoming, and now it's like,
yeah,
everything is just different, and people, I think a big thing is COVID, like,
yes.
made a lot of people just be
yeah.
And now we're kind of like cleaning up after that mess, and
I firmly believe that it made hermits.
yeah,
Is what it did. Hermiting is great for protecting yourself. Hermiting is great for you to recharge yourself. But it is not a lifestyle of living.
mm-hmm.
It's in a way of life, you know? And I think that also helps a lot of the people that have health issues, because that activity is not there, or the mindset, because the activity is not there either, you know? So being able to bring that back in is my little way.
I'm very into introspection and things like that personally, and like from gathering on my own experiences, I'm actually writing a memoir on like my own experiences and like how I view things in the world. I've come to a point where I realize how important society is to us individually as humans, and community, and having that resource and value to have like other people around you, even if they're not like super close to you.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's one thing that after I had my son, I lost my sense of community. I was very much alone, and it came to a point that as I was like going through and working on myself and healing myself, that I was like, wow, like I was really missing this sense of community, this sense of belonging, this sense of I can be accepted somewhere that's outside of my home,
right?
Where, you know, I did feel like a hermit, where I'm like, I don't even want to deal with people, I don't want to be around people. It's nice to find an environment where it's like I enjoy being around these people.
Yeah. I
enjoy being in a space like this, and being around people doesn't bother me. So I do, like, I really appreciate and admire the way you're trying to build a community set and bring people together where they, like, it's just not a thing anymore.
It's not. Well, even in your families too, if you think about it. So a long time ago, that a tribe actually all raised their kids together. A tribe all worked together. Like, that's how they survived, you know? And families, then it became where your family generations would live on the same land together. They would all farm together. They would all live together. That was their community. That was them. If you look at actually even families, they are brought up now where it's like, okay, I raised you. You're now an adult. Fly, birdie.
Yeah. Be gone.
And you're all by yourself, you know? And then the birdie is out in the world, and they're like, okay, now what do I do? You know, and now they feel alone. And then when they become parents, and they're trying to have where they are trying to raise their children in the best that how they were raised, you know, but our world are totally different now than they were when our families were growing up, you know. And so to be alone on that, and that's where a family unity is just huge, you know. And if you don't have that with your family, then you build your own family.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where you start to find those people that you entrust of helping you. And it's more than just, okay, I'm raising my child and I need help with a babysitter. No, it's that everyday mental health, even, you know, of head checks of the mom saying, hey, you good? Because I know school this week was not good on little ones, so are you okay though? Because you had to handle X, Y, Z.
To compress with each other, a space to kind of like relate to one another and not feel so isolated.
Exactly, and that's across the board of where, from being a parent to having where, as an adult going through where of your family members, you know. I know when my dad got sick, so rewinding a little bit farther, so when my husband lost his mother, my husband always told me that, I told my husband, I was like, I don't know how to be here for you because I've not experienced what you've experienced by losing a parent. Mm-hmm. And my husband has a lot of mental health issues and he deals with, and so I was very much had to be there for him. And I told him, I was like, I don't know what to do to be there for you because I don't know what you need. And he didn't even know what he needed, you know, because he was going through his grieving process. So then when I lost my dad in 2023, he then told me, he was like, this is a part of a club that I wish that you never became part of. And I knew exactly what he meant because I then knew what he was going through of the loss of a parent because he lost his mom and then I lost my dad. So that it is hard, but to have where I've had other friends that have lost their parents and it sucks, but that's where my stage in my life is, you know what I mean? And so to be at that level, it's hard because it just goes to show more in my life the different phases of life, you know? Like I have adult children. I had my kids at 19 and 25, so being 45 years old, and I have adult children, but I have people that I am very close to. They got littles that are still in school, you know, because they started later in life than I did. Mm-hmm. And I look at them and I'm like, yeah, no, I couldn't do that. I'm thankful that my kids are adults.
Young mama, so I know.
And exactly. And that's where, and I look at the young moms that are 20, 25 to 25 years old that have, or even to up to 30 years old that are having their first children, you know, and it's like, and that's, to me, it's a beautiful thing and it's a beautiful space because I love when my babies were babies. I miss my babies being babies. I'm thankful for where I am at today, but I miss those little snuggles and I miss those I need you moment, mommy moments, you know? But that's where, it's funny because that's where a lot of it, it's like, okay, where I'm at is different than where you are. And it's like where my mom and my grandmother is in a different place than where I am at. So to have that community knowledge, I guess in a way, I'm thankful for that.
That's so important. Like when we don't have that, then like everybody seems lost.
Right. Yeah. As women, you need to have women in your life to be there and have your back, you know? And the crazy thing is men need the same thing, they just don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. And when they do talk about it, they feel ashamed by it. And that breaks my heart. So I actually have a couple guys that come here and practice with me. And I have my husband and family members. And it's when mental health comes into play and, you know, talking about their support, men, I think they have a harder time, honestly, being vulnerable.
Societal pressures too.
Yes.
That's a big one.
Yes. And that's why one of the things that I've even noticed on my social medias, because it tells you like male or females are on your page and ages that are on your page of what my demographic is. And I'm like, well, I can see a lot of it being that because I'm a 45-year-old female, you know, so I can see the late 30s and early 40s being there, you know, and it being mostly women because I'm women, you know, but it's men need it just as much, just as much.
Yeah. So. Speaking of community, do you plan on doing anything in the future, like community-wise?
So there is something that's in the works. I have been approved to be able to have a market day here in the parking lot. It's going to be called Hippie Market. So it's like, think of a hippie fest, but scaled down. Scaled down. So one thing that I'm working on is being able to have that actually to be here at in our parking lot. It's a test run that we're going to be doing hopefully in October. We're working on. We're hoping to get a couple food vendors, have regular vendors that have like arts and crafts things and that, and hopefully have a couple of the dispensaries, because we've got so many of them that are in our area. And also I'm really good friends with another dispensary out of town, having them affiliated as well. But having live music and that, just so that way it brings some life to this area is my goal. And if it goes off really well, I'm hoping it's something that we'll be able to do once a month next summer. So if we can't get it because of time framing by October, it'll definitely be something that is going to be in the works for next summer to have, for sure, because I really want to have more life here in the plaza, and also for people to be able to come more together and be able to get the things that you can't get in this area, from being the crystals and essential oils. And everybody always looks forward to Apple Fest and Strawberry Fest in our area, because that's when they buy majority of those kinds of things, you know, and handcraft items and that. And I want to be able to have it to where it's more than just twice a year, where it's something that's a once a month type of a thing for them to come together, but also having it to where we have music. And I'm really hopeful to be able to have like entertainment. So like they have the silks, people will come and they can do silks and the hoops, and the Lara would be amazing because I have a Lara and I love it. Those kinds of things too. So there'll be some entertainment. So those are things that I'm hopeful to bring to the community and to this plaza. So I'm excited for.
Yeah, that sounds exciting and cool.
Yeah.
We need more stuff like that. This place is a little too stiff for me. We need more whimsical, more, outgoing. I think it was like that for a little bit, but just the way that the community handles it sometimes makes people draw back. And I just feel like if we have a safe space to be whimsical and to like be open, then it'll help build that community.
Absolutely.
And, like, make people not have to feel so serious all the time. And
well, you see everybody at Walmart or Meijer, so I mean, you want to be able to say, oh yeah, I remember seeing them at the festivals, or you know what I mean? It's like, it's again being familiar with who you are around, and then you have no problem going up and talking to them and becoming friends with them, so, and growing.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all the questions I have.
You did good.
Thank you. You did amazing. Actually, this whole place, I really like this place a lot, and I'm hoping that, I can help bring more people in. I haven't had the chance to come for another one of your classes, but I definitely do plan on it. Me and my sister have been talking, like, okay, when is our schedule free set? We're not booked or nothing.
And that's actually one of the things, that's why I have my studio open 7 days a week, because I understand it, I have classes in the morning and in the evenings. I don't do an afternoon class. Actually, the reason I don't do an afternoon class is because twice a month I teach at the Friendship Center. And then I'm actually hoping to be able to start working with the schools as well, doing mindfulness with the schools.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I've always thought, like back when I was in high school, I used to have to go out during like my fourth period and like actually meditate and relax, because I get anxiety and like
you have to check back in with yourself.
You do.
And, oh yeah, I understand completely. And that's what. And it's funny because I always say, I was like, if I would have had these tools when I was in high school or middle school, my life would have been completely different. Completely different.
I was an AP Psych kid. I took it was a junior senior class, but I took it in my sophomore year, and I'm a sophomore, and I'm like, why don't they just teach this in school regularly? Why do I have to take an AP class to learn these things that we should know about ourselves?
Oh yeah.
And like, honestly, I feel like most people would be in a situation where they're more mindful and more able to control themselves in high intense situations.
Absolutely.
If they're taught these things in public school. But I think, some people have stigmas or whatever around yoga, and they just take it the wrong way, and they,
I had somebody tell one of my yogis, you can go for the physical, but don't drink the tea. And I said, well, that's really sad because I have tea in the back that I serve.
What does that even
and
mean?
It's good tea too.
What's the don't drink the tea mean? I just feel like there's so much that can come from yoga and learning behind it.
Yeah, it is. Well, and so a lot of people stem the yoga physical side of it to going into Buddhism and Hinduism and the religious side of it.
But it's funny because we practice a lot of Chinese medicine and stuff in the United States.
We do. And do you know that Buddhism is not a religion either, and people think that it is.
Right.
So, and that's where I find it very entertaining. So
that's just like the ignorant aspect and that
the
stigmatism and blocking stuff in that people don't know.
Right.
So
and actually that's one of my favorite things is when, like, the lady that came to me to that, I was like, okay. I'm like, well, let's now have a conversation. Like, okay, now this is, which, I mean, that's one thing that I'm fully open. So I grew up with Christian-based values of my family. We were not ones that went to church every Sunday, but I had Christian-based values in my home growing up. And I, over the last 7 years, have reflected on where my meaning of my life is at. And so I have no problem saying I do follow more of the Buddhism side, and that's where I love that philosophy. Be kind. Love, be kind is huge. And I'm okay with that side of it. And I have a lot of friends that come here that practice, and my yogis that are Muslim, that are Catholic, that are Christian based. I have it all across the board. I'm waiting to have somebody who's Jewish come in here. That's my next step, and but I think it's because of the fact that I don't hide that side of it either. I understand your religion, and I understand your faith in that, and I'm okay, and that's you, and I appreciate you, and I respect you for your beliefs, and I'll sit down and I'll talk to you about it, no problem whatsoever, but the main goal here is for you to find your bliss, for you to find your peace within yourself.
Okay, and so if you guys have made it this far, thank you for holding on and making your way through this whole video. I hope you enjoy our conversation and everything that I'm trying to do with this project. I am so absolutely excited to see people's feedbacks and to hear from more people in the community. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you'll see me next time for episode 2 at Spotlight on Success.